Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. I am Sandrine Grissard from Improov. We are the experts in efficiency. So on this channel, you'll always hear about tips, tricks, methods, philosophies of how to spend less time working, more time playing, and just working more effectively. Having more time to do things that are really important to you, sticking to the essential instead of losing time and losing your head sometimes in elements that are not that important to get done. I'm so happy to welcome you here. Can't wait to show you the next video. Below, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget that little bell either so you get notified every time we put a new video on this channel. So thank you so much and enjoy the show. So we're going to be looking at how we're going to master Outlook through 4 keys that we're going to explore together. And that way, I want you to be able to take away some really cool tips and tricks so that you can walk away with things that you can apply right away after this 1 hour together. So let's get started and see what we're going to learn. So today, we are going to focus on really how to work with Outlook and configure it and make it work for us so that it becomes the best assistant ever. So you're probably asking yourself, will this work for me? Well, 50,000 people have taken this course in over, well, it's not this course, it's a webinar, but the full course in over 50 different industries. So, and we have thousands of testimonials of people saying that so in some cases it changed their lives. In other cases, it just made them so much more efficient, so much more on top of their game and their activities. They just feel like they really own their schedule now and own their tasks. So that's been really, really amazing. You're going to get tips and tactics. Like I said, you're going to be able to master Outlook in just a matter of days. So we're not talking about a really long learning curve. We're really just talking about just applying new ways of doing things. You'll see they're pretty simple. It's not major habits that have to be changed. So it's going to be quite easy to do the transition with these new tips and tricks that we're going to share with you. If I can transform your life, wonderful, for the better, of course. If I can reduce your stress, even better, and that's what we're going to be looking at doing, and making Outlook your greatest ally at work. So I'm going to show you the same strategies that I use every single day. So I want you to know that every day I use this tool and I use the best strategies to really know how to save time, control my time, and major thing is saving my energy. So there's going to be some very powerful secrets that we want to share here to make sure we have optimal efficiency. And I want you to really think that maybe the best person or the best tool in this case, application that's going to pick up all that extra time for you is going to be your Outlook. So you will see that your team and you will save lots of time because Outlook will become your go-to assistant. And the strategies we're going to show you is going to allow you to really feel way more in control. So we want to make sure you never miss follow-ups. And we want to make sure that, when you're learning, you're transforming so that it becomes really meaningful for you. So we're going to jump in soon, but before I do that, I want to make sure that you know what's going to happen here. So with the people here in the room with us, I want to know, how much time do you spend in Outlook each day? So are we talking about 30 minutes a day? Are we talking about an hour a day? You can answer in the chat. So go ahead and answer in the chat and tell me what we're looking at here. So you have the chat window on the bottom right, and you should be able to type in it if you can. So some of you are looking at spending maybe 1 hour a day in your Outlook. Other people are spending 3 to 4 hours a day. Others are spending up to 8 hours a day. It really depends on your job, of course. So if you're spending that much time in an application, whether it's 1, 2 hours, or 8 hours, it's really important that you master the tool. And so I'm going to focus on the 4 keys today to help you master this amazing tool. So the first key is really to understanding all the drag and drop that you can do in Outlook. And so Outlook is really an amazing tool for dragging and dropping. And I'm going to bring the Outlook window here. And so right now we're in Outlook, we're in the inbox. And why is drag and drop so efficient? Well, it's because sometimes when we receive an email, we want to do something with that email. So let's say you receive an email and you think to yourself, well, I have a follow-up to do on that email. I need to get back to that person. And so you read the first email. So I'm going to just show you really quickly. I'm going to put my preview here and I read the first email and I'm going through it and I go, okay, well, this, I have to do something with that. I have to follow up on it. And so what you could do is simply, you can drag it. So I'll share my task here. You can drag this email right here to the right and say, well, you know what? I'm going to work on this today, and you can put it here into today, and there it is. You just dragged it into there. So by dragging and dropping, what did it do? It actually created a flag for today. And this flag is your follow-up. So instead of then going through all of your emails in your inbox and saying, oh, which ones did I flag? Which ones do I have to do what? When do I have to do it? Now you can literally take this email and you can probably just archive it. So all you would have to do here is take the email that we just flagged and just go archive. And now this archived email is now actually sitting right here in your archive folder on the left hand side here in the list of folders. So I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so you can see. So in your inbox, you have an archive folder here underneath your deleted items. And I basically just took that email and put it in the archive, which means now it says here it's in the archive, but there's a flag of something you have to do today. So instead of going back into those emails constantly to say, oh, which ones do I have to do what with? Now you don't need to focus on your list of emails. You simply need to focus on your list of things to do. Now we'll get back to the to-do list here because it's got to be organized and configured. But basically, I just want to show you the quickly drag and drop features. So let's say this next email here. So let's take this one here. Let's say this next email here, you want to read it and you realize, well, this email, I'm going to have to do more than just a follow-up. I'm going to have to actually do something with it. I'm going to have to prepare maybe an email and have to write it out. It might take me about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So in this case, you don't want to just drag it and put it as a flag. You actually want to create a task. So we would grab this email here. I'm going to take it with my mouse, left click, and I'm going to drag it and drop it into my task. So you see here, I have the task button, the task symbol. So if you, on the left-hand side of your screen here, if you don't see all these little symbols, it's because maybe they're still inside the application area here. So you see where it says more apps? It might be in there. So I'll show you. If I remove, if I unpin this, my task will disappear. I'm going to unpin this as well. You see, if I unpin them, I'm left with the basics, the email, the agenda, the contacts, and my to-do. But now, if I actually decide to add more applications because I want to use the tasks a lot, I can click on the more apps and I can go and choose tasks. And then if I want to make sure, see, it tells me pin this app. So now I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say pin it. And by pinning it, it won't move anymore. It'll stay here. Every time I click somewhere else, it'll still stay. So that allows me to take this email here and to drag it into tasks. And when I drag it into tasks and drop it, so I release my button, you see what it just did? It created a task for me. So this is a task item. And by creating this task item, I can now document my task. So I could say, for example, so I'm going to type here, prepare a response, attach the form to be filled out. So maybe I have a physical form that I need to attach, so I would insert this and I would go and get the form that I'm thinking of. So maybe it's this document here. Then I would say, speak to Tim about following up on this with some extra documentation, et cetera, et cetera. And so here, my subject, when you create a task, you can actually change the subject. So here I could call it respond with form and documentation from Tim. So now that I have documented this whole task, I can say, well, when am I going to start working on it? So I could say, well, I'm going to start working on it on the 22nd, and I'm going to and the priority is actually quite high because I can't make it let it go past that date, because my due date, I'm going to promise this person that my due date is I'm going to get back to them latest by the 25th. So what I would do is I would say January 25th, this is when my due date is. And so in the course that we give, which is which is about 4.5 hours of live training, I will explain the reasons behind it, the reasons why we do all this way. And you'll see that there's a lot of logic behind that. So right now I've dragged and dropped, I've attached a file. I've created what I have to do, and I've made it as high urgency. So now if I say save and close, and I show my task list again on the right-hand side, you will see that my task list is now going to show that for the 22nd, which is next week, you see it'll say respond with a form and documentation from Tim. So it's right here. So when as the day gets closer, it's going to go from next week to this week to eventually be tomorrow to eventually be on the day of. So I'm going to see this task move up to when the day actually comes. So that's a really, really practical way of working with it. Now, one thing that I don't like about this this taskbar here is the fact that I have all my tasks that I already completed that are showing up. So I don't want to see that. So one of the things I could do here is I could go and tell it, don't show me completed tasks. So I'll show you how to do that. Now, again, in the full-fledged course, we can really program this thing, but by showing you this, you'll see how to get into the back end and maybe start playing with it and seeing how you can configure it better. But one of the things you definitely don't want to see is you don't want to see all your completed tasks. You actually want to see what you still have on your plate. So how do we do that? We're going to do a right click here in the top part of your taskbar. So there's a good probability that you're only seeing it arranged by. You're not seeing all the columns even when you make it wider. So all you need to do is do a right click on this arrange by area. And once you do the right click, you will have access to this menu that allows you to go and play with the settings. So you're going to go to the last option that says view settings. And once you've clicked on that, we are going to go and do something a little bit really quite advanced, but it's going to allow you to just really configure this so that it's much cleaner. So we're going to go into the filter option. And then from the filter, the filter option, we're going to go click on, somehow that didn't work. Filter option, we're going to go on to advanced. And in the advanced, we're going to say the field that we're going to choose is, we're going to choose the complete. We're going to say we want the tasks that are not completed yet. So we're going to say complete equals no. And we're going to add to the list. And by doing that, you will see that now, beautiful. Now my task list here only shows what is still to be done. I no longer see that whole list of things that have been completed. So now I really get to see what's to be done. Other thing I'll give you right away as a nice way to configure the interface is if you don't want to have to make this so big to see all your columns and you want to be able to shrink it and still see the columns up here, do another right click right up here at the top again, go back into view settings, and you will get to see in the other settings, you will get to see that you can use the compact layout in width smaller than, yours says 125 characters, you want to set it at 50. So just a quick reminder to everybody, if you think I'm going too fast for this, don't worry about it. You're going to be receiving the recording in the next 48 hours. And actually, if you're still waiting for last week's recording in the last webinar, you will be receiving that today. So today you'll get last week's webinar on the Microsoft 365 applications. And then in the next 48 hours, you will receive this webinar recording. So you can pause it and you can spend the time going into the tools and checking things out. So feel right at home that it's okay if I'm going a little fast. I just want to show you a lot of stuff in 1 hour. I want to make sure you're getting your time's worth and that by the end of the hour, you have learned a bunch of tricks that'll be really, really helpful to you on a daily basis. So here you go, 50 characters. If I do that, I hit OK. I hit OK again. And now I can reduce this and still keep my columns and everything is still organized. So a really nice addition to our way of working with it. So as you can see, if I were to focus on what do I have to do today, I would literally reduce all these titles. So you see what it says tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. I'm going to do a right click here and I'm going to say collapse all the groups. And then I make sure I'm still in start date and say, what do I have to do for today? And just open up today and really just focus on what is in my plate today. Because to be efficient, we can't be thinking about tomorrow and next week and the week after. We just got to be focused on what did I say that I would do today, and how can I be of my word to make sure that I'm doing everything I want to do today. So that's what we need to focus on. Now, when you're looking at this, you might notice that I got a lot of tasks that are behind, like really a lot of tasks that are behind. But the other thing I'm noticing is that my start date, that takes a lot of room to have the day of the week, plus the year, plus the month, plus the day. That's kind of cumbersome. So we can go in here and just modify that really fast by right-clicking on the start date, going into the view settings again. And this time we're going to go to the format of the columns, format columns. And in start date, I'm going to choose a format that's a lot shorter and takes up a lot less room. So you see this one here, 16th January 24. That's what I want to look at, because, you know, I could also decide it's Tuesday, January 16th. That might work as well. I don't really need the whole year. Like, I know that I'm doing current work. So that might be a really good option to go with Tuesday. And then I know which day of the week it is. And I can go, okay. And now you see how that takes up so much less room. It allows me to do what? To look at my categories and have way more room for my categories, because those are really important. And we won't have time to cover the categories today, but little hint here just to help you out. For your categories, the rule is your categories should represent the types of activities you do in your job. So I'll give you an example. If you're an accountant, then your job is what? You're doing accounts receivables, accounts payables. So you might be doing invoicing, you might be doing consolidation, like bank consolidation. You might be doing working on ledgers. You might be doing following up with suppliers or clients to get payments in or out. So all those things. So what I've named now is, let's say you're doing accounts receivable. You could have a category called accounts receivable. You can have another one called payables. You can have another one called follow-ups. You can have another one which is consolidation. So every time you're doing bank consolidation, you would tag your tasks and your emails with whatever activity you're doing. And so if you come up with 5, 6, 7, maximum 7 categories in the job that you do, that'll cover pretty much everything you're doing. Whether it's whether you're doing emails are coming in and you want to categorize those, or emails that you're sending and you want to categorize those, or even if you want to categorize your tasks here, but also if you want to categorize the work that you're doing. So you see, by using colors and categories, it'll actually quickly tell you, what am I doing when? What am I working on? And that's going to be a much faster way of working and more efficient than if you don't have the categories. So that's why the categories become extremely, extremely important to bring into Outlook. So the drag and drops that I've showed you so far was how to drag an email into your daily tasks. So let's say here you have something, you have a follow-up. So again, I would remove my task list here. I would show my preview and say, okay, what's this email about? Okay, it's about this. Oh, well, this, I actually have to follow up on that. So now I would remove my preview and show my tasks and say, okay, well, I need to follow up on that, but that won't be today. I'm going to follow up on that tomorrow. So you could drag this and drop it into tomorrow. And you see what it did? It added a flag as if I had done a right click tomorrow. So I have an option. I can either grab it and drag it, or I could right click the flag and choose when I'm going to work on it. It's the same thing. When I put a flag like that, what happens? It ends up here in my list of things to do. And then I can grab it and file it in my clients. And now it's going to tell me that that email is in the clients folder. So let's say that email that I just clicked on. Hang on, my Outlook just closed. Okay, so let's say the email that I was on. So let me just go back to that. Okay, so let's say that email that I was on for tomorrow, which is right here. Let's say I know that the client is asking me to send him something with regards to invoicing. Well, or with regards to a report. I could click it as reporting because I do a lot of reports in my work. And I could say, well, I have a reporting category. So now I know that this task has to do with reporting. So now that I have this task, let me show you another drag and drop that's really practical. I'm going to go to the calendar here, to the agenda. And before I go there, I want to show you another really nice tip. sometimes we want to look at our emails and then we want to look at our agenda. And every time we click on the agenda, we lose our emails. And every time we click on the emails, we lose our calendar. So instead of doing that, we can do something even more powerful. We can do a right click on the calendar. You right click on the calendar and then you say open in new window. And by doing that, now you have a second window of your Outlook, and it allows you to toggle back and forth using the Alt-Tab function. So I don't know if you know how to use Alt-Tab, but you can say Alt with your thumb, Tab with your middle finger, and now you can toggle back and forth. So I can show my Outlook email and then my calendar, and my Outlook email and my calendar. So it's a really nice shortcut to go from one to the other. So now that I'm in my calendar view, I'm going to bring in the tasks again. And I want to say, okay, well, this email I have to deal with that I just dragged here. Okay, remember this report I have to work on. I need to find time to do that tomorrow. So I'm going to look at my agenda and say, okay, I have some focus time here. So you know what? I'm going to remove that focus time that I had planned. I'm going to grab this. So I just right clicked on that, by the way, and I just hit the delete button. And I'm going to grab this task here and watch. I'm going to drag it. Didn't need to click on it again. I'm going to grab this task and I'm going to drag it into tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'm going to release. And the magic just happened here is that not only is my email that I have to work on now here, but on top of that, it's already the proper color for reporting. So when you work with categories and you've already established which categories you need, and you've got a maximum of 7 of them, eventually the colors will mean something to you. And so you'll look at your agenda and go, oh, I've got some reporting here to do. You don't even need to see the category reporting, because everything that's brown in your in Outlook environment is for reporting. So let's say you've blocked off 30 minutes here. And actually, you didn't block off 30 minutes. You blocked off 25 minutes. I'll get back to that in a minute. But you blocked off 30 minutes here in your agenda. And let's say, you know what? It's not going to take me 30 minutes. It's going to take me longer than that. So I should just extend it to an hour. So you see how my arrow just changed? If I move my mouse really close to the bottom of that, I have 2 little arrows. Now, if I click on that and extend it up, now I've blocked an hour off in my agenda to work on it. So what we just did together, that is called time blocking. And time blocking is essential if you want to become more efficient, because it allows you to make sure that you're going to put in the time and block the time in your agenda to do what's important in your job. If you don't block that time, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen if you don't block that time is somebody's going to call you into a meeting. Somebody's going to come and interrupt you because they think you're doing nothing. And we all know we're not doing nothing. We also always have lots of things to do. So if you want to make sure that the important elements that you need to get done, and when you say to yourself, I'm doing this tomorrow, well, you want to make sure you're doing that tomorrow. Well, make sure that you have time in your agenda that's blocked off to actually do what you said you're going to do. So there it is. So now I literally just dragged that from the taskbar to my agenda. So I'll show you again another one. Let's say I want to, so next week, I want to plan this because I know I said this is an important one, respond with form and documentation. From Tim, I have to respond to this person. So this is a task I created for myself. And I said I had to do it on the 22nd. So sorry, that was already, okay. So the 22nd is here and I'm going to grab this task now and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to say, okay, well, 22nd looks like at 9 a.m. I'm working on that. Now you see what happened when I dragged it? This one didn't have a category. So because it had no category, it's blue. Don't want to do that. So I'm going to delete that. I didn't actually delete the task. I just deleted the invitation I had in the meeting I had with myself that I had in the agenda. So what I want to do is say, you know what? I don't want to make it without a category. I want to make sure this is categorized. So I'm going to do a right click on the categories and I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be a consultation that I need to work on. And now that I've categorized it, I'm going to grab it and drag and drop it and move it to my agenda. Now you see, when I move it, it says 9 a.m. to 9:25 a.m. Now, why is that? I'll show you. It's a really cool trick. It's really about being efficient, okay? I don't know about you, but one of the things that I don't like about meetings and agendas and Outlook in general is that a lot of people, they book you always on the hour or on the half hour, right? You have a meeting from 9 to 9:30, and then you have a meeting from 9:30 to 10:30, and then you have a meeting from 10:30 to 11, which means guess what? You never have any time in between your meetings. You're always like back to back to back, and that actually makes you exhausted, makes you stressed out, and many times you show up late because there's always a bit of an overrun, or often there's an overrun, or you're just trying to take your notes at the end of each meeting before you jump into the next one. So instead of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to always be so tight, you can tell Outlook to finish your meetings early. So let me show you how to do that. We go here at the time area here. We're going to do a right click here. We're going to go into the change time zone. I know it's totally counterintuitive, but it's just a really quick shortcut to getting to the options. So we'll do a change time zone. And then when we get there, we're just going to scroll up, and you see here it says calendar options, shorten appointments and meetings, and you want them to end early. So what you can do is say for meetings that are less than an hour long, you want to finish them 5 minutes early. And for meetings that are 1 hour or longer, you want to finish 10 minutes early. So what that does is every time you block off an hour, so let's say I block off an hour here and I say meeting with Jake, and I hit enter, you see how my 1 hour became 50 minutes. And that's really neat because it allows you to finish at 9:50. It also sends a very clear message to the people who you're inviting to your meeting is, guess what? We're not going to finish at 10. We got to finish at 9:50. So let's all be really efficient. Let's limit the chit chat and get straight to the point and get to business and get to doing what we're doing. And that really helps everybody. It alleviates the stress between the 9 to 9:50, 9 to 10 meeting and the 10 o'clock meeting that starts afterwards. So it gives you that little buffer. And it's a really nice thing to have because, we end up getting really stressed out if we don't have that buffer. So here we are now with this task that we dragged and dropped from our taskbar or our to-do bar to our calendar. Now, if I double click on this, what's going to happen? This is going to open up my meeting, my appointment, and it's going to show what? It's going to show the task here. It's going to show what I said I would do, and it's going to show the initial email. So by showing the initial email here, I see exactly the whole history of this task. Now, once I want to actually work on the task, and I go to my calendar, once I want to work on this task here, I'm not going to hit this task here necessarily. I'm going to actually go to this element here on the right-hand side, which is the actual task. So if I click on here now, the reason why I want to work on this is because this has the attachment that I had put in the, it's the attachment that I had actually put into the task itself. So with the attachment here, now I have the full extent of my task that I created, and I can work on it and make sure it has all the elements it needs. Make sense? So those are the different drag and drops that I can do in my Outlook and that allow me to optimize my navigation time. So instead of copying and pasting a bunch of elements, I can just go to what I need, drag it to where I want it, and keep working. So you can imagine that if I can drag a task to my calendar, I can drag an email to the dashboard here to make it a flagged email, or take an email and drag that up to a task. You can also imagine I can really do just about anything. So let's say I get an email from somebody and I want to make sure I save their contact information. Well, instead of writing the information myself, all I need to do is grab the email from the person. And as soon as I grab that person's email, I can just take it here and drag and drop it into contacts. And that will actually create their contact card. And automatically it'll save their email address. Now, if in that email I had a signature with a phone number, I could just grab this phone number, copy it, and paste it here and put all the details. If I had their address, I could put it all here and do a lot of copying and pasting to avoid making mistakes. The really nice thing about Outlook being able to create the email address from the actual email is that you're sure that you're not going to have a mistake in the email address. It couldn't copy it poorly. It really just created it from the actual email, the back end of the email. So then you hit the X and you save your changes, and now this person is in your contacts here. So if I click on contacts, now Jules is there. So very, very interesting drags and drops you can do to really save tons of time in your Outlook. So that's the tip number one. And how much time do you think you're going to save doing this dragging and dropping? Any idea? Anybody want to comment in the chat? All right, so key number 2 now to take back your day is really to think, well, in most cases, what we see in people's calendars is that they either have a full calendar without any flexibility, or it's empty and they react to whatever happens in the moment. So that's why I was telling you the time blocking is so important. Now, we did some time blocking with an actual task that had to be done, but I encourage you to also do time blocking before the tasks. So that's why you'll see that I have some focus time moments in my agenda. So this one, I obviously was booked a course, so that didn't work. But let's say I have some emails, follow-ups that I need to do. So what I would do here is I could just do email follow-ups. Or let's say this focus time here, I don't have enough with just this one block of focus time. So I'm going to say, you know what, this focus time here, I am going to make sure that this focus time gets repeated. So a really cool trick in Outlook to block time fast is to use the control button. So I don't know how familiar you are with the control button, but let me show it to you because it's quite neat. So today we're the 16th. So I'm going to hit the control on my keyboard. I'm going to press down the control button, which is the button right below your shift on the left side of your keyboard. And then with my mouse, I'm going to unclick the 15th. So by unclicking the 15th, you see how the 15th just disappeared? Because that was yesterday. Not much I can do about the past. And I know that on the Friday, I already have focus time planned and I have a huge meeting that day. So I'm going to unclick the 19th as well. So now I'm left with 16th, 17th, 18th. And then I want to make sure that I'm going to show next week. So I want to see Monday the 22nd and I want to see Tuesday the 23rd. You see how now I'm able to really control exactly what I see on my screen by simply hitting these dates in the agenda here in this month and by using my control button on my keyboard. So control click is your best friend in Outlook. Just saying, especially in the calendar, control click, you're going to love it. So one of the things I want to do here is make sure I add more focus time just so that I have time to work on the important things that I need to work on. So for example, if I wanted to have another focus time moment here at 3:30 on the 23rd, I can hit the control. I'm going to click and drag it. And it's really important that when you're doing that, you release the button of the mouse before you release the control. If I release the control before the mouse, I'm actually going to move it, which is not what I want to do. I want to duplicate it. So I'm going to release that. And you see now I have a focus time here, there, and the next time. So every basically Thursday, Monday, and Tuesday, I'll end up having focus time at the same time. Now, let's say I don't want to have it that late, and I just want to delete this one. I'll just delete this occurrence here and say, you know what? I want to work. I want to have 2 blocks of focus time close together because I want to leave my schedule open from 3:30 onwards for any potential meetings that may take place. So I could do it that way. And what I could do too is once I've blocked off this focus time, I could decide what I'm going to be working on. And that's going to be determined by what's in my taskbar, in my dashboard. So when I look at this dashboard here, I want to click on categories to see what do I have a lot of. So maybe I have a lot of reporting to do. Maybe I have a lot of talent work to do. Maybe I have a project here to work on. I have consultations. I have a lot of other things. So I could say, you know what? I have some reporting to do. So let me block off time for reporting. And so how I'm going to do that is I'm going to right click on the focus time. I'm going to choose a category and say, make that reporting time. And so, okay, there. So my reporting is here. Then I'm going to say, well, this is going to be for consultations. And then this focus time is going to be more reporting because I really have a lot of those to do this week. And then this one here is going to be more consultation. So you see how now my agenda is kind of looking like it's looking as if it was a Christmas tree. But what you really want to do is just make sure that those colors speak to you. So every time you see these elements in your calendar, you know exactly that, yep, you've blocked off time to work on those reports. You've blocked off time to work on those consultations. You really have time in your agenda to get your work done because, yes, it's important to meet people, but it's also important to get work done. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're in a customer service role and you need to be basically answering calls all the time and just being at everybody else's service, well, in that case, you might not block off as much time. You might only block off about 15% of your work schedule. But if you have a lot of autonomy on your schedule and you're not as much answering a lot of messages and calls, etc., well, then you might want to build up to about 60 or 70% of your schedule that you control. So it really depends on the type of work you do and what your role entails. So now I have used the categories and I've blocked off some time. And I showed you how I can reduce my meetings by 5 minutes or by 10 minutes by using the shorten method in Outlook. So I just showed you that, the control click. So I don't know if you're seeing right away the kinds of things you can do to really help you out with saving time. Yes, it is a really, really great feature, the control click. Love it. Key number 3 is really using the tasks. And so a lot of people don't use the task function because they don't actually have a really good system in place to see how they can use the tasks. And so one of the things that's really important is making sure that this dashboard here is very, very powerful. And the way to set it up as powerfully is really to make sure that you play with how you're showing the information. So whether you're showing it organized by category or showing it organized by start date. So, and the category only works if you actually categorize your tasks. So if you have a lot of tasks that have no category, well, you're not really helping yourself because that means you're not quite sure what this is all about. You have these tasks in your list, but you're not sure what you should be doing to complete them. So the idea here, and this is the concept that is really important to grasp, is that when you are looking at your dashboard, in one sentence, in that whole line should tell you exactly what that is. So like call Carolyn, that's great, but about what? So it should be call Carolyn, and then it should be, and then I just put a hyphen, and it should be, update on report. So on financial report. Now that is more precise. And then I should probably say, is there a deadline for this? Well, or looks like I was supposed to start that on the 8th of January. I'm already maybe behind and maybe I'm not. So it'd be like January 20th. So I know what to do for the 20th. So I got 4 days to go before I get it done. So guess what? Now it's gone from normal to high because I really have to get it done. And I say save and close. But before I do that, because it's a report, what am I going to do? Categorize reporting. Now I've given it a category, I've given it a deadline, I've changed the priority, now I can save and close. And what's going to happen? Now I go into my categories here and I see this. But I have to change my start date because guess what? I didn't start it on January 8th, I'm behind. So what I should do is, since my deadline is the 20th, I might want to start working on it latest tomorrow to actually get it out of the way. And you see now that I've done that, on tomorrow, when I go back to start date, it's going to show up in my list to do tomorrow. So you see now I look at this and it says call Carolyn about the update on the financial report, start date tomorrow. It's a report and it's a task. Do I need any more information? No, it's all there. Now I know exactly what I'm doing. So now the next thing I need to check is, do I have any time planned tomorrow to work on reports? Yes, but it's this one big report that I know is going to take time because of that one email. So I have to block off more time. So I should grab this, and now I'm going to put it in my schedule tomorrow to work on that. Now, is that complete? Yes, that's complete. So I can go to the next one and start looking at the list of all my tasks that don't have categories and that haven't been properly entered. So of course, the solution here is Save yourself time and do it right away when you create the task. So what you should be doing is when you're going into your emails and you have an email from somebody and you know it's something for you to do, you're like, okay, I have to do something here. Well, what you should do is as you drag and drop it into task and create the task, spend the extra minute and a half to choose your category, to determine what the priority is, to change the title to make it speak to you. And what's the best thing you can do for yourself? That first word has to be an action verb. And doing, believe it or not, is not an action verb. So an action verb will be call. It'll be write up the letter, write up the, create the report, update the PowerPoint presentation, finalize the quote, send the new information, the new client information to the agency, et cetera, et cetera. You have to look at words that when you see the first words, you know what you're going to have to do. If you see a task that's just not clear, then you're going to have to remember, you're going to have to double click on it, go look at the content and try to put yourself back in the context. What you want is that subject has to be so clear that by just reading the subject, the context comes right back to you. And that's going to be a huge time saver. So here, for example, let's say I have to write up a marketing email. It would be literally write up marketing email for campaign. What's my due date? January 24th. And then that means it's not urgent yet. Start date. What do I do with start date? When I have this is going to take me about 30 to 45 minutes. Actually, with ChatGPT, it's going to take me a bit less than that. I'm going to get some help from AI. And then what I'm going to do is if it's due for the 24th, I'm going to put it as start date on the 22nd. And now I give myself a 2-day buffer to get it done. So I hit the save and close button. And now if I go back to my dashboard, what do I see? I see that I have the write up the marketing email for campaign start on the 22nd. It has to do with consultations and it's in my tasks. Do you like it? Do you think it could work for you? Waiting to see if there's any feedback in the chat. All right. So that's the kind of things that you can do once you have this system organized. So another thing we want to do is definitely go through this and get rid of all the old tasks. So any tasks that are here that are old and that you've done, well, it would be a good idea to just go through them and say, okay, I finished this, and yeah, I finished this. I just didn't mark it done yet. And you can really select a few and say, you know what, all these I know I've done, so I'm going to go up here. And you see at the top of your screen here, it says there's a green check mark, and you can just select those and say mark as complete. If you made a mistake and you mark something as complete and it really isn't complete, don't worry about it. We're just going to go into tasks. So you go into the tasks here, and you're going to go look at the view, and you're going to go and choose a view that says completed. And now you're going to look at the date completed. If you go down and you look at date complete, you'll be able to see the ones you just completed. So it'll make the most recent one on the top. So you see they're all today. And you say, oh, no, that's not true. I hadn't completed this one. So you just go in and you uncheck it. And by unchecking it, if we go back to our view, you will see that the unchecked email is now back here. So now it's back in your list because it's not complete. So no problem. You can always undo what you've done if you made a mistake. Okay. So how do we get to a zero inbox, and how nice would it be to get a zero inbox? So yes, most users have hundreds, if not thousands of emails in their inbox, or they file them, but then they spend way too much time filing them. So let me first cover the second point, which is filing emails. One of the things you want to do when you're in your inbox is that way back in the day, way back when, people would file emails and they would create subfolders and subfolders, and they would go in really, really, really in depth and creating a huge hierarchy here of documentation. But the problem with that is that now you would have to remember where did I file it? How far down do I have to go? And now you're going from one folder to another to try to figure things out. But indeed, you don't really have to do that because you have an amazing search engine. And I say amazing, and I really I weigh my words because 10 years ago, Outlook had a really bad search engine. But thanks to Google, because Google gave a lot of competition to Microsoft decided to put quite a bit of effort into their search engine, and now the search engine is quite good. So if you click here, as soon as you click on your search, I'll do it again just to show you, and you can focus on the top part here. So I'm in a normal ribbon here, and as soon as I click on the search, look what happens. My ribbon changes. And now I have a search ribbon that's appeared with a bunch of tools. So again, I'll show it to you again. I click on an email, go back and click on the search bar. Once you notice this, you can say, okay, let me search for emails from, but let's say you don't remember the actual person it's from, but you remember the company that you're working with. So let's say you say, you know what, I'm going to look for morningbrew.com. And you want to get all the emails from them. And then you say, well, that's good, but there's still too many emails showing up. So let me look at the ones that I identified as the category reporting. And now it's saying, well, there's nothing. Okay, so let's find another category and see if there's something else that falls into that category. So we're going to say, maybe we're going to have the category newsletter. So I'm going to remove this one. You see in your menu at the top here, you have a line that allows you to see. So find more on the server. Maybe there's things that's been backed up on the server. Anyway, the idea is that you can use your categories to find stuff. So maybe I actually used the wrong from, but let me, so, and let's say I'm going to put I would have a keyword in I can just do a search saying morning brew, and then seeing what comes up here. So now it's finding it. And then I say, okay, I want morning brew that's categorized. And I'm going to say with reporting. And you see now it's finding that one email that came in because I said the keyword was morning brew. So you'll have to play with it until you see how it memorizes stuff and how it understands things. And maybe that the reason why I wasn't finding morning brew is because maybe the email address was not exactly that. I would have had to put the @ before it, because if there's no space in front, it might not find it. Anyway, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're entering keywords, and the more you categorize things, the easier it's going to be. So even if I exit this and I say, find me all the emails anywhere in my inbox that have the invoicing. Here are all the emails that have the invoicing category. So you see how the categories really, really help, because that's a lot faster than going into each box and trying to figure it out. And if I'm literally showing emails from all different folders. Let me show you. If I add the field called, just bear with me here for a second. There. So if I put this one here called in folder, look at that. You see this one? So I added the in folder. And now it's showing me that it's searching in the sent items, it's searching in the archive folder, it's searching in the client B folder, it's searching everywhere inside the inbox because it's searching inside the entire mailbox. So, and now I can look and say, oh, this is the one I wanted to read. And then I can double click on that and go look at it. Okay, so finding emails using the search engine is way faster, which means you don't need to keep stuff in your inbox. You can actually archive the majority of the emails that come in. Once you categorize them and you archive them, you don't need the folders as much as you used to, because finding them will be easy. So let's say you receive this email here and you say, okay, well, this is definitely about support. And this email here is about reporting. And I got to say, I'm going to take care of it next week. So now that I've done that, I can literally just say, you know what? I don't need to file it anywhere. I know that if I look for reporting, I'll find it. So I'm just going to archive it. And then this one here, I'm going to look at that and say, okay, well, that one is actually with with regards to the project A, and I know I want to work on it, and I want to choose a specific date. So I'm going to say, well, you know what? It's not this week, and next week it's really on the Thursday I want to start working. I want to reply to that and do an update. And now again, I've given it a category, I've given it a flag. Guess what? I can just archive it. And now if I want to work on this and archive it and say, okay, find me everything that has to do with project A. Well, again, categorize, project A, all the emails are coming in and the ones with the flag. And I could say add project A and it has a flag. So lots of different opportunities, lots of different options to find the information. So as you can see, my inbox is going to get empty really, really fast because I'll be able to get through each email much faster. Now, the other thing I want to be able to do is say, you know what? I want to be able to have an inbox that is so clean that I can finally change that arrow the other way, because we shouldn't be looking at emails that just came in and dealing with those before the ones that were received almost a month ago, right? Or even more than a month ago. So we want to make sure that we're reducing the amount of emails in our inbox, because the inbox remains the inbox. It should not be the filter box. It should not be the saved box. It should really be where it comes in. And once you've filtered it and you've given yourself follow-up flags to take care of and you've categorized, well, now it's like, okay, I can just archive. And you know what? I archive on a daily basis. I archive at least maybe about 75% of my emails go into archive, and about only 25% go into specific folders where they really need to be. And so the rule of thumb for me is the specific folders are like so important that they need to be in that folder. The other ones, as long as they're categorized, I know I'll find them really easily by using the category and often by using the from field or a keyword. So as long as your categories are clear and your from field is clear and you can remember a couple of keywords, it should be a piece of cake for you to find the emails again. And the archive, know that the archive actually is inside the inbox right here, and it's not in a separate folder in a separate area. It's completely indexed by the search engine. So you have no worries there. Make sense? All right. So there's a lot of things you can work with in the inbox as well to make your life easier. One of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're in the you want to make sure that when you're inside your inbox, you want to make sure you have the conversation setting set up. So you don't want to see your emails without using the conversation. So that's one thing you want to set up, and you want to look it up on your Outlook to see how you're going to have it being in the conversation mode and not just in the regular mode of looking at your email. The other thing you want to do is you also want to use the priority inbox. So you see here I have all and unread. That's not the best way to have your inbox set up. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your inbox is set up as the priority inbox. So how you do that, you go into the view settings and you're going to say, I want it's actually called the focused inbox. So you want to use the focused inbox and other. And you see here it says shows conversations. That's where you're going to specify that. So you're going to say for this folder, that's the only one you want to do, which is your inbox. And the conversations will say when you send a message to somebody and then they reply to you, it'll show you the message that they replied, they wrote back to you, and it'll show you yours underneath. You'll have to just pivot the little arrow. So that'll be really, really practical. Now, the focused inbox, the nice thing about that is, let's say you've subscribed to some newsletters, you're receiving messages from Microsoft online, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to get those Microsoft emails in my focused inbox. You can just tell it. And then the AI will kick in, and you're going to say, right click here and say, you know what, always move to other. So you say yes. And so what happens is now all those emails will just go into your other. And when you have a moment, you go look at them, but at least they're not going to take a lot of room in your focused inbox, because as the word says, you want to be able to just focus on what's important. So you can, and then let's say it does send things here and you don't want them to go there. All you'd have to do is just right click on the email and say, always move to focused. And now it's going to go back to your focused. And every time there's going to be a Microsoft Viva email, it'll come right into your focused inbox instead of going into your other. So that's a really nice way of telling Outlook how you work and what you want it to do for you. And by really informing it and managing that. So I really appreciate the focused inbox. I use it all the time. I find it really, really neat. And then the shows conversations, like I said, it'll allow you to show conversations underneath. It'll regroup the same conversation you're having with somebody. Instead of having the email come in, then you reply to it, and then their new email comes in, and there's like 3 other emails in between. And now you're trying to see, what did they say last? Well, now it regroups all those conversations into one. And you can specify a few settings here to make it better. So really, really awesome things that I hope have been really, really helpful to you. We got a few minutes left. I want to also show you that your message preview, you can check here if you want 2 or 3 lines of preview in your inbox. So if you have it like this, it'll show you the first sentence of your message. And that's practical if you're using the dashboard. But because the dashboard, we can make it disappear or reappear as we want. I prefer personally to have it, the message preview off, and to use the preview on the right-hand side. I just get more emails here. You can also change the spacing. So make it tighter or make it really, really wide. I don't know if you're noticing what's happening here. So if I make it tighter, it's gonna take less room here on the left. See, if I make it really tight, it really fits into a shorter space. I find that's a little bit too tight. So I like to do the intermediate there. So there's usually an intermediate version that's in between the two. And then, so that's really the main things that we're going to look at in terms of how to organize your inbox and make it look the way you want it to. You can always play with the columns here to see what you're looking at. But generally speaking, you're going to want to organize this by date, especially with the conversations being activated. It'll allow you to really keep those conversations together. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it was very helpful and you got a lot of things to take away with you so that you can now save more time, do better, and feel more in control and less stressed about everything you have to accomplish in a day. So I hope to see you soon on the next one. And again, don't forget to hit that little bell so that you know when the next video is coming out. Until then, have a wonderful day and really have an efficient one. Thanks. Bye.